No calls, no shouting matches. Just the soft click of the door closing behind him, for good. He didn't ask who she had been with, didn't try to find out why a stranger's perfume still lingered on her clothes. He simply watched as the final drop spilled into a cup long overflowing with silence and all the things left unsaid. And while she still believed she was directing the scene, he was already writing the ending, precise, cold, and leaving no room for sequels. She suggested they open the marriage, unaware the doors had already been unhinged. She thought she controlled the game, never realizing the ground beneath her had already begun to shift. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So let's get started. Alone in the stillness of my apartment, with only the echo of my thoughts to keep me company, I sat trying to unravel how I had missed the signs. I should have recognized it sooner, like the way she chuckled lightly, almost dismissively, at a stranger's message during dinner. But back then, all I could see was the woman I had once stood against the world to protect. My name is Darren Harlow. What follows is a recounting of how the woman I believed would stand beside me forever dismantled everything I valued, and how I clawed my way back from the wreckage she left behind. This didn't begin with betrayal. It started with awe. The first moment I noticed Sierra, she wasn't doing anything extraordinary. She was quietly leaning over the counter of a small, cozy bookshop cafe, letting her fingers trail over the cracked spines of aged novels. Her jacket hung off her shoulders, too large to be hers, and her hair was carelessly tucked under a beanie. But it wasn't her style that caught my breath. It was the intangible energy around her, like she held some unspoken secret you had to earn the right to discover. It was Lena, my closest friend, who finally introduced us. I'd been pestering her for weeks about the mysterious girl with the ocean storm eyes and soft grin I'd seen in her Instagram photos. She dodged my questions until one weekend, she gave in. She invited us both under the guise of needing a second opinion on a birthday gift for her sister. The second Sierra turned when she heard Lena call her name, everything inside me shifted. One look at her, and I already felt like I was in too deep. That hour in the store was mostly spent pretending to shop, sneaking glances, and exchanging awkward, charming dialogue. By the time Lena made an early exit, Sierra and I had settled at a quiet corner table, two untouched coffees cooling as our conversation wandered from light-hearted nonsense to raw sincerity. From there, it unraveled like a dream. Late-night talks that blurred into morning, wandering through rain-glazed streets with fingers entwined, messages that felt like they stretched across time. It all felt so real, so easy, like something fated. Within 8 months, we were inseparable. Before our first anniversary, we both carried keys to each other's places. Future plans weren't distant hopes. They were topics we spoke about like they were already underway. She envisioned a little house surrounded by wildflowers. I imagined opening the door to her face every evening, knowing that was enough. Maybe that's why I ignored the warning signs when they appeared. We settled into a rhythm that felt predictable, comfortable. Mornings filled with rushed breakfasts and quick goodbye kisses, mugs half full and forgotten on the kitchen counter. Our nights slowed down, classic movies, leftovers, her legs draped over mine as we melted into the couch. We had the occasional spat, every couple does, silly things, who was on grocery duty, whether or not the dishwasher was loaded the right way. But none of it made me question us. That changed in the year we got engaged. That's when the patterns shifted. Suddenly, there were unexplained late nights at the office. At first, I brushed it off. Her drive had always been relentless, but her stories started to shift. One night it was an unexpected meeting, then it became dinner with colleagues. Eventually, it was helping a friend pack. Each new reason veered slightly further from the last. I wanted to trust her. I needed to. Because loving someone sometimes means you believe them even when logic tells you not to. The night I proposed beneath twinkling lights on the rooftop of her favorite bar, her yes was so heartfelt, it nearly drowned out the gnawing unease inside me. 3 months later, we were married. To those around us, we looked perfect. But inside our home, something was quietly crumbling. It wasn't abrupt. It was subtle and slow. Her phone was always within arm's reach. She'd take it with her to shower, silencing notifications. Her laughter became rare, her smile forced. And when I tried to meet her eyes, she turned away. The connection we once shared without trying now felt like a performance. When I reached for her, she gave excuses. I'm exhausted. Work has been crazy. I just need space. I kept trying to believe her, and for a while I did. But there are some betrayals that don't need words. You feel them before you ever know them. Then came the night she said she'd be working late. Again. On a whim, I decided to surprise her. I picked up a bag of pastries she loved and drove across town, nerves buzzing beneath my skin. The office parking lot was empty. Her floor was dark. I asked the night security guard if she was still inside, and he looked at me confused. Most of the staff had gone home hours ago. I got back in my car and drove aimlessly, trying to conjure up a reason that made sense. Maybe she went out for coffee. Maybe she was at another branch. But deep down, I already knew. Hands trembling, I opened the GPS tracker we'd installed on our cars long ago as a joke about trust. Just a relationship thing, we'd said. No big deal. Her car wasn't at the office. It was parked outside a cheap motel just off the highway. A cold wave swept through me. I didn't knock. I didn't walk in. I didn't need to. The blow didn't come from what I might have witnessed behind that door. It hit harder than anything I could have seen. I drove home in utter silence, the kind that amplifies everything. Each memory played like a reel in my head. The laughter, the whispered affections, the soft declarations of love, all of it now steeped in a bitterness I couldn't swallow. Sierra came in after midnight, disheveled and reeking of a cloying scent that wasn't hers. Her makeup was smeared, her excuse was laughable, some emergency at work, meetings that ran too long. I didn't argue. I gave a small nod and a hollow smile. That night, I made a quiet decision. I was done fighting for someone who had already surrendered. I wouldn't grovel for loyalty from a woman who had already assigned my place to another man. If something had to burn, I'd be the one striking the match, and I'd make sure she saw the flames. The days that followed were a performance, and she played her part with disturbing ease. She strolled around the apartment like an actress in a play she thought she'd written. Lipstick-smudged mugs stayed on the counter. Her coat was tossed over the couch like a prop. She hummed lightly as her thumbs raced across her phone screen, always texting, endlessly detached. I let her keep going. I didn't interfere. I simply withdrew, silently watching from the shadows of my own life. No outbursts. No dramatic confrontations. Only quiet, deliberate steps. My first move was financial. I funneled all the money from our shared savings into a private account she had no idea existed. I masked every transfer to look routine. Utilities, maintenance, portfolio shifts. She hadn't checked in ages. Then came the investment in gold, tangible wealth, tucked away safely, far beyond her reach. I was preparing for the fallout, and I wasn't about to let her walk off with anything she hadn't earned. By day, I kept up appearances, claimed I had meetings, left early, returned late. I needed the space. Some nights, I checked into budget motels in nearby towns. I needed the physical distance to match the emotional void. It reminded me that the separation wasn't just internal anymore. It was real, concrete, irreversible. If she noticed, she didn't let on. Or maybe she noticed and simply didn't care. Perhaps in her mind, the game was already won. Roughly a month after that night at the hotel, she sat across from me at the kitchen table. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes glittered. not with sorrow, but with strategy. "I've been thinking," she began, absent-mindedly twirling her hair, as if making an offhand suggestion. "Maybe we should try an open marriage." She said it like she was suggesting a new furniture arrangement. I didn't react. I'd known this moment was coming. "An open marriage?" I echoed, my tone flat and emotionless. She nodded, mistaking my calm for curiosity. "Yeah, just think about it, Darren. It's freeing. It could even help us reconnect." Her smile made my stomach twist. This wasn't a proposal. It was a veiled admission, masquerading as progress. I leaned back and really looked at her, the same woman who used to press soft kisses to my skin in the early morning light, who once shared her dreams with me in whispers before sleep. Now, she was just another person with my surname. I smiled, slowly, intentionally. "You're right," I said. Her face brightened with hope. "You're right," I repeated. "Freedom is exactly what we need. How about we begin tonight?" She paused, confused. "What do you mean?" Without a word, I walked to the counter and slid an envelope across the table. Inside, a full set of divorce papers, already notarized, ready for her to sign. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "You're free, Sierra," I said, my voice quiet but firm. Truly free. The fallout was instant. First came disbelief. "That's not what I meant. We don't need to end it. We could just explore." Then came rage. "You're overreacting. You're destroying everything." Finally, the tears. "I still love you. We can fix this." But I didn't move. I stood still, arms crossed, face unreadable. Some things, once fractured, stay that way, and trust is one of them. No apology, no promise, no well-timed sob could put the pieces back together. That part was already gone. In the weeks that followed, she tried every tactic. Emails filled with twisted half-truths. Late-night voicemails, her voice breaking and slurring as she pleaded for a second chance. She even appeared at my temporary apartment, takeout in hand, wearing that old hoodie of mine she used to steal. I never once engaged. I didn't argue. I didn't break down. Instead, I forwarded every message to my lawyer. Each voicemail, every email, every handwritten note slipped under the door, documented and filed. Not for revenge, for closure. Because when someone betrays your heart, the true victory lies in never allowing them to do it again. While she unraveled, I focused inward. I threw myself into work. Long hours, unrelenting deadlines, unwavering precision. Pain became my fuel. Before dawn, I was already at the gym, pushing my body harder than I ever had, using the sweat to silence the ache inside. I reconnected with old friends, people who had quietly noticed my change long before I had the courage to face it. But more than anything, I learned how to exist without her. At first it was terrifying, silent evenings, lonely weekends, laughing with no one around to hear it. But over time, something became clear. Being alone is infinitely better than begging for love from someone who treats you like a burden. The final wound wasn't loud. It came quietly, like a breath held too long. The man Sierra had risked everything for, the one she'd tried so hard to keep secret, walked away, not long after their affair became her reality. I heard about it through mutual friends. 2 months, that's all it lasted. He said she needed too much. Carried too many cracks, wasn't whole. There was a cruel symmetry in that, but I didn't gloat. I didn't reach out. She'd long been exiled from the space she used to occupy in my mind. Sierra assumed the worst had already passed when I packed my bags and left. She thought the silence that echoed through our former home was her punishment. What she didn't see was the far more precise storm I was building, slowly, deliberately, beneath the surface. While she cluttered my inbox with texts begging for one final talk, I was in quiet conference rooms with lawyers, real estate agents, and money managers. I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was removing her from every crevice of my existence. My first move was calculated. There was a loft downtown we once visited together, the one she vowed would be her sanctuary once we split. I bought it through a dummy corporation. My name stayed hidden. She applied for it, certain it was meant to be hers, only to receive a courteous decline. Already sold, they said. Not available for rent. She never knew the buyer had been me. Just the opening domino in a chain I had lined up with care. Then came the finances. The nest egg she thought she'd rely on during the proceedings. Moved, locked, completely legal. Our shared credit cards, canceled. The utility bills, quietly transferred to her name before I stepped out the door. What she thought would be a manageable transition became a slow crumble, her foundation slipping away, piece by piece, without a single word from me. Then I made the quietest cut of all. The car she'd once begged for, bragged about, but rarely paid for, it was still under my name. She never bothered to check, so when everything was finalized, I retrieved it. Clean, legal, no drama. One morning she stepped out, coffee in hand, ready to face the world, only to find an empty driveway waiting. No vehicle, no husband, no safety net. I wasn't being vindictive. I wasn't chasing revenge. I was standing firm. She made her choices. I let the consequences catch up, and while she unraveled, I began to reclaim my own life. The air began to feel clearer. I returned to morning runs, my weekends filled with people who actually saw me, people who laughed with me, dreamed with me. I stayed up late building something that stirred an old fire in me. This wasn't survival, it was rebirth. Strangely enough, I owed part of it to her. Sometimes a message would appear, or a photograph from years ago. Maybe even a sentence or two, soaked in regret. Hope you're well. Drenched in memory. I never responded. I didn't have to. Sometimes silence carries more weight than any reply ever could. The first time I saw her post-divorce was completely by chance. A normal Thursday. I stopped into a bookstore we used to visit, back when life felt unspoiled. I was moving through the aisles when something shifted. That quiet pressure in the air before a storm. I turned, and there she was, Sierra, standing by the entrance, coffee trembling in her grasp. She looked smaller, like something vital inside her had given out. We just stared. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The past hovered heavy between us. Then she took a slow step forward. "Darren," she said, voice cracked and thin. "You look good." I nodded slightly, my face calm. "Thanks. Hope you're doing okay." Just words, nothing more. We both knew better. Eventually, pieces of her new life drifted back to me. The man she'd destroyed us for, gone. The friends who'd cheered her on, vanished when the mask slipped. Her money problems deepened, bills unpaid, overdraft notices, a job she barely clung to, reaching out to old contacts, trading pride for assistance. The woman who once imagined penthouse views and champagne evenings was now battling eviction notices and mounting debt. Reality gave her lessons no advice ever could. I didn't take joy in her descent, but I didn't intervene either. Some lessons can't be taught, they must be survived. And me? I kept moving forward. The business I'd poured myself into began to thrive. I settled into a new home, not flashy, just mine. I traveled again, stood beneath skies I'd only imagined. I made peace with being alone, not the painful kind, something softer, steadier. And yes, I met someone, carefully, slowly, without fear, no chasing, no pretending, just real. I was searching for something authentic, something that wouldn't leave me constantly anticipating hurt. But this time, I wasn't naive. I had come to understand that love without trust, without truth and shared respect, was hollow. I wasn't willing to settle for anything less than the whole thing. It was months before I heard from Sierra again. She reached out with a short message, no theatrics, no pleading. I hope you're happy. I hope you know I'm sorry. That was all. No attempt at reconciliation. No request for another chance. Just a quiet note, followed by complete silence. I read it several times, then gently closed my laptop. There was nothing more to say. Because forgiving someone doesn't always mean welcoming them back. Sometimes it means letting go of the burden and walking forward without it. Over the next several months, I began to evolve into someone I barely recognized, someone new. And for the first time, that change felt like it belonged. The sorrow that once weighed down my nights became the spark that drove me forward. I began cultivating a discipline I had once admired in others, routines I could never sustain when I was trapped in the exhausting cycle of trying to prove I was enough. I started waking before sunrise. My work became sharper. I navigated life with a calm I never thought I'd possess. I wasn't running from what had happened anymore. I was heading straight toward the man I was meant to become. Occasionally, the past would resurface in quiet, unexpected ways. A familiar scent wafting from a cafe would bring back memories of the cinnamon pastries she used to love. A song from those endless car rides would play on the radio, and I'd pause. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of auburn hair in a crowd and feel my chest tighten, until reality gently pulled me back. But those memories no longer stung. They were simply distant echoes, echoes of a chapter I had lived through and risen from. Proof that while it nearly broke me, I had built something far stronger out of its ruins. One crisp evening, I found myself standing on the same rooftop where I'd once proposed to Sierra. The space looked different now. New furniture, brighter lights. The city throbbed below, vibrant and full of life. I stood near the ledge, letting the wind brush against my face as I watched the skyline fade into twilight. And for the first time in what felt like ages, I wasn't grieving. I wasn't angry. I was simply grateful. Not for the pain itself, but for the clarity it had carved into my life, for the person I had become in the aftermath. That heartache had taught me lessons I never saw coming. It taught me how to tell real love apart from its well-disguised imitation. It made me see that loyalty isn't something to be negotiated. It's a choice, freely made. And once it's violated, it's not something you beg to get back. But the most important truth I uncovered was this: no one is coming to save you but yourself. And if I ever saw Sierra again, I knew exactly what I'd tell her. Thank you. Not out of spite. Not with malice. But because her betrayal had peeled away the illusions I once clung to. And in their place, I found something far more honest. Something that truly mattered. As stars flickered to life above the city, I felt a quiet smile forming. Not because the path had been smooth, but because I'd endured it. Wiser, stronger, and, finally, unshakably free. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.